rising tides lift all ships. Who said leadership development had to be so buttoned up? The power of shared voices, of connection and community with Whirl create just a very big bubble that can help bridge people together.
Welcome to Loud and Lifted, the podcast where we're done whispering about what women need to do to be more supportive of each other, and we're ready to say it louder for the ones in the back. I'm your host, Betsy Hamm, and today's guest is living proof that leadership doesn't come with age requirement and courage doesn't wait for permission. Satyne Doner is the associate editor of Women in Restaurant Leadership at QSR and FSR magazines, and she's not just writing about change in the industry, she's leading it. She's building a national platform that elevates, educates, and empowers women, and she is showing up with purpose and power. She's bold, she's grounded, she's young, and she's here to talk about building platforms that actually support women, not just with social media posts, but with real opportunity. Let's get loud and lifted with the unstoppable Satyne Doner. Welcome, Satyne.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This
Well,
is
here as in you're in Florida, right?
yes, here is in Tampa, Florida. I will represent. It's
Nice.
hot here. We're getting ready to be summer for the next 10 months. So
Yeah, I'm slightly jealous because we cannot get out of this like cold weather in Pennsylvania. So I would love some nice Florida weather about right now.
I know a lot of people are here on spring break right now, and I'm
Oh,
like,
true.
welcome, welcome.
Yeah. You're like, welcome. Please leave soon.
Yeah.
So you've been in Florida your whole life. Just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into World. We'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a very rare Florida native. I grew up in suburb of Tampa, a tiny town called Tarpon Springs. It's a great place if you love Greek food, just so you
Oh,
know, anyone
okay.
go there. They have something called the Sponge Docks. So they have people go out every morning and they dive into the water for sponges that you can use, as a loofah or something like that.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
a fun fact about Tarpon Springs, Florida. Like I said, I grew up or in this area for the past how old am I? Just had my birthday like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, happy
23
birthday.
years of my life. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
baby. You're a baby. I love it.
So yeah, I haven't flown too far from the nest. I have my horse. I've had him for almost a decade. I keep him about 30 minutes from downtown Tampa. People are always surprised when I say that. They always say, I didn't know there was land outside of Tampa, and I said, yes, you just got to look for it.
Nice.
So that's basically that takes up all my free time. So if I'm not here, not writing, not working on the Whirl platform, I'm usually out riding my horse or cleaning a stall. The funniest and like the most creative ideas I've ever had in my whole life have come from the inside of a stall covered in
Ooh.
dust. It's very unglamorous.
Okay. Like while you're cleaning, not while you're
Yeah.
actually writing.
Nope. While I'm cleaning
Okay.
the stall, it's quiet, it's peaceful. Um,
I mean, most people say to
Birdie.
shower or driving a car or going for a run, but okay, cleaning
Yep,
up a
it's
horse stall.
cleaning
That is
in
the
my
first.
stall.
I love it. Hey, it's clearly working because in
Yeah.
your 23 years, you have been making quite the impact. So for those people who are not familiar with women in restaurant leadership, tell us what it is and how it got started and how you even got involved in this.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will try and be quick with this. So let's roll the scenes way back to September 2023. So I was an intern for QSR and FSR magazines. We're a B2B magazine that covers QSR and FSR. So basically, the entire restaurant industry. And we have a very large event every year in September in Atlanta. And what started as a women's networking hour very quickly turned into the fire marshals telling us, hey, you have too many women in this room, like too many people. We got to shut this down. So have to give the credit here to our editorial director, Danny Klein. He, saw this idea. He saw there was obviously something there. And a lot of the women in the room, just, thinking off the top of my head, they eventually became what was Whirl's board. They
Okay.
told him, we should do something. We should do something more. There's more that we can do to uplift women in the industry and bring them together. So, September 23, hang with me here. 6 months later, Danny put together the very first Women in Restaurant Leadership, we call it Whirl, event out in Nashville, Tennessee. He put together an advisory board of about 20 people at the time, I think 24,
Well,
and they sort of went out and recruited people for us. And we sold out that event with 300 people, which
oh
was
my gosh.
crazy because this event just came up out of thin air. We
In
said,
6 months, that's amazing
in
too, that
six
even pulled
months.
together.
Yeah, and I was there for that very first event. I was still an intern. I was finishing up my senior year of college. I remember being very scared, honestly. There were so many different types of leaders. You had people who have been in the industry for decades, you had people who are, just starting out, people in the mid-level, and there was just so much happening that I felt like a deer in headlights at the time.
Oh,
I was just in the back of the room and just kind of taking it all in. Little did I know, Danny always has tricks up his sleeve. I'm sitting there trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life because, that's what it feels like when you're getting ready to
sure.
graduate. I'm like, I have to
Absolutely.
make all these big decisions. Nothing is working for me. You know, what am I going to do? So, right after the first Whirl event, Danny called me right outside my class. My phone was about to die. He's like, hang on, find a charger. I've got something, the best opportunity. You'll never get anything cooler than this. He said, would you like to take over the Women in Restaurant Leadership, not just the event, but create a platform for it? I said yes. I mean, I said yes in 3 seconds.
Right. We're like,
It
"Oh,
wasn't even a question,
sure."
yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, totally," and I didn't really understand what the impact that I would have at the time or what I was walking into. I just wanted a job. I
sure.
had bills to pay, so I was like,
Right.
"Yes, I'll take any full-time job." But what ended up happening, I started last June, so I'm getting ready to celebrate my official 1
Nice.
year working full time. We built out an entire what I call the engine of products. So we have, the magazine, the print
Nice.
stories. We have a digital platform for digital stories. We've got a newsletter, a podcast, a webinar series, virtual hangouts, like little Zoom sessions every month. And of course, our signature event, which we announced today, we're bringing to the larger event in September. So
Nice.
we've got lots of things going on, workshops, and hang on with me here. I know I've been yapping about
No,
this,
it's
but
great.
there's so many different things that, we've turned this idea of, how can we serve the community? How can we bring women together? How can we be the bridge between, leaders who have been in the industry forever and leaders who are looking to make their next pivot? How can we, and even newcomers into the industry, how can we elevate, educate, and empower? And whether it's through the digital stories that I write to help bring visibility and awareness, or it's, our Barbie party networking event that, everyone's silly and connecting with each other. We just want to have an impact and, foster conversations that help push women in the industry forward. And now we have, we just welcomed our new board, our advisory board. I flipped
Nice.
it over, spent the past 2 weeks, sourcing. We have 40 board members, brand new from all over the industry. I'm very proud because we brought in some Gen Z board members. So it's
Nice.
very diverse in terms of, age, job, title, how long you've been in the industry. So I just want to represent everybody.
And I love that. I love that it is representing everybody that, to your point, could be somebody who's just starting off into the world and somebody who's been doing this for 30, 40 years because, there's something to be learning from each of those people, no matter how much experience they have. So I love that it's not just, oh, you have to be VP, C-level, whatever it is. Let's get them while they're young,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
and teach them, like how this can work when we work together. So I think elevate, educate, empower. Those are your
Yep.
three. I mean, I
Elevate,
love that.
educate, empower, and then, our backup is unite, lead, inspire. So those are just sort of, the values that I hold really near and dear to me. And I think the other thing about Whirl it happened very organically. I think the community just needed a safe space and they really held on to that. And it's kind of like surfing. I mean, we've been surfing this wave of energy, and I'm just here to sort of be the good shepherd of this energy. And for us, leadership doesn't look like one thing. You can lead, and I think Rhonda Levine, one of our board members, she's the CEO of Ziosk. She said you can lead from any seat. So
Mhm.
I personally really hold on to that, and I actively, encourage anyone to come be a part of what I call the world of whirl from anywhere.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you're getting a ton of ideas and feedback from
Yeah.
not just the board members, but just, women who've participated. So how do you prioritize, right? You're probably and probably even just personally, you probably have a million things that I want to do this, and this. Like, how do you just take a step back and prioritize how you're going to spend the time and energy?
Yeah, so that's been a learning curve for me.
That's always probably going to be a learning curve.
Yeah, this is a learning curve because this is, my first full-time gig. This is my first time sort of learning how to strategize and brainstorm in a professional setting. So there has been a little bit of a curve there, but I have such an incredible team. I mean, the support from my editors, from my editorial director, from the sales team, from our events team. They really do stand behind me and help uplift me, and they have all really taken me underneath their wing. So anytime I have questions about how do I prioritize things, they are there to guide me. And you're right, I am getting, pitches and through my email and through LinkedIn, and sometimes it does feel never ending, but I just tell myself that is a very good problem to have, and it's
Totally.
just more opportunities for me to either tell stories of the incredible women of this industry, or I always ask people, what's on your mind and what's on your heart, and how can I help get that story out? So usually, I mean, more logistically speaking, I'm very hands-on. So I am thinking about getting a giant whiteboard to like
Oh,
brainstorm
nice.
on and
Yeah.
think about, every month, what do I want to highlight? But I usually keep a journal. I brain dump often in my journal. And just on a day to day, I try to, what's main priority. We're still journalists at the end of the day. So
Sure.
yesterday was our print deadline. So Monday and Tuesday, I really had to turn everything off, like all my notifications, just so I could go in what I call the lair, my little writing lab, and get these stories out because I take it very seriously. I take everyone's story as if it were my own. And I want to do these women justice when I tell their stories because it's important to them, it's important to me.
And you just bring up a really good point about the journalist piece. That's obvious. Of course, you're a journalist, but I wonder if that's part of the success of Whirl is because it's journalists running it, and your jobs are to tell stories. So you're able to connect with people and pull out that emotional connection that maybe sometimes doesn't happen when you're with an organization that's just sort of maybe scheduling a few events, they do a few social posts, but just doesn't
Right.
create that engagement and that story that gets people like sucked in, right? Like it's sort of like you're building this I don't want to call it a cult, but you're building this
I
organization where
mean, we
people
can
have
we
so much love.
call
I
it
guess it's
internally. I call it the cult of world
okay, good.
because I mean it really is a community. We started last June, we created the LinkedIn, and today it has almost 7,000 followers. Our second Whirl event sold out at around 500 people, and we had a waiting list. And I mean, I will tell you, Betsy, like I am not a trained journalist. Like I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to school to be a journalist.
Okay.
It just happened by happenstance. I've always loved to write my entire life, but I went to school for business. So this is very, goes hand in hand, but
Yeah.
I'm just so passionate. I treat everybody in the community. It's really hard, but I don't care that it's difficult to make those connections with people. If it's your first time at an event, I don't care if I'm busy. I want you to come find me so I can, walk you through. And I know how intimidating it is to come to these large industry conferences because I've been there. I was literally just
Right.
there last year feeling those
Last year.
feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a huge empath, but I know how intimidating, again, these events can be. I know how intimidating it is
Oh,
to
totally.
go on a panel for the first time or even just raise your hand, in any professional setting. So if there's something I can do to help, or, what we've done really brilliantly, I think, is build out this board of 40 plus board members. And we have 40 legacy board members, our
That's great.
world OGs is what I call them, that they show up. They are so generous that they volunteer their time to helping this community. They show up at these events. They are great brand ambassadors. They help with bringing in the newbies and the first timers. And, it's not just me, it's a whole suite now of people who are
I love
just
that.
dedicated to the movement and giving
Well,
back.
and you're so right on the intimidation part. I think that's a struggle, especially for women. I mean, I think it's for everyone, but especially for women. And a lot of times in the restaurant industry, you walk in and when I started going to some of the leadership stuff, I was like one of the few women. So then it's that whole struggle of not feeling confident, maybe changing how you behave or perform. But when you're in a group of women, it can go one of two ways, right? Like it can feel like a little intimidating. Maybe you lack confidence and it feels more competitive, but you've managed to create this atmosphere where, because part of it is your energy and your personality, you're so
Yeah.
welcoming, you're so high energy, you're always seem happy, right? Like that's awesome that you're able to create this atmosphere that people feel comfortable and feel safe in, essentially, which I think is then when we can really grow and learn a lot, when people are just feeling comfortable and safe in the environment they're in. So, and that's huge. The fact that you've done that in a year is like kudos to you.
Thank you so much. And I don't really know how it happened, I'll be honest. How
It's okay.
somehow my personality has just sort of bled into the movement, but I
Yeah,
mean, at this point now in my career and just having a clear view of what I want world to be and the impact I want it to have, it's becoming more intentional and my eyes are just open to how this affects others. But I mean, I'll give you an example. How can you feel intimidated when you're at a networking event and everybody has fluffy pink light up cowboy hats? You have people walking around dressed like Barbie. Our editorial director has a fake Barbie box
I
on.
love
I
it.
mean, we do these events, with the intention to make networking easy because we know how hard it can be. We have first timer meetups, we have crazy wacky Barbie parties, and some people might say, "Oh, it's a little unbuttoned, it's not professional," but who said leadership development had to be so buttoned up? I mean, we can let loose and have a little bit of fun and just get rid of some of those barriers that make, leveling up hard and making connections hard.
Sure. Oh, I love that. So, have you run into any like negative feedback or support, whether from other women or from men, being like, "What is this? Why are you guys doing this?" How's just the feedback outside of this amazing group that you're creating
Yeah.
been?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Certainly over the past, year and a half, almost 2 years of doing Whirl, we've gotten, we still get the "what is Whirl?" question, but I just view that as an opportunity to educate them on
Sure.
just it's a very powerful case study in, the power of shared voices, of connection and community. And, of course you get the, "Are men allowed?" I mean, we had, I think,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, it is women in restaurant leadership, so it is marketed very specifically. But there is something to be said about allyship and male allyship, and we very much, cherish our male partners and how they can help. I mean, just being real. Sometimes when your boss or your mentor is a man and has, in some industries, the power to unlock things, sometimes them helping you raise your hand, and that can be a big unlock for people. So
Absolutely.
there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of mentorship, and I talk a lot about mentorship and making sure you have mentors, and that when as you grow in your career that you become a mentor. But I think the other piece too that I don't talk about enough. I don't know if other people do. Is just the sponsorship piece of it, where somebody is sponsoring you, and a lot of times it probably is a man if he's in a higher position or whatever it
Right.
is, where he's going to say your name, he's going to recommend you for a project when you're not in the room. So being intentional as that grows, like how do you find mentors? I think sometimes people think it's this formalized, will you be my mentor, like
Yeah.
proposal, and it's not, it's not like that. It's just it's making connections and reaching out. And when I first took on the CEO role at Duck, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really know other CEOs, like this is all new. And I was just on LinkedIn, like reaching out to people like, hey, I'm new to my role, would love to talk to you, would love to have feedback. And some of those casual conversations ended up being longer relationships where I'm still in touch with those people, to just, it might be a random text of, hey, have you ever dealt with this? Could you help me with this? Or do you know somebody who does that? So, that sometimes it's informal, but, having a vehicle like Whirl to be able to meet people, that would have been a whole other game versus me and my like blinding LinkedIn messaging to
I
people,
know, and
hoping that
it
they
can be
write back.
scary. I mean, yeah, it can be scary, especially on LinkedIn. It's like, how do I do this? How do I not come off like salesy?
Right.
Because we get
Yeah.
so many,
So
cold
many. Yep.
messages, yeah, every day. But I think we do get comfortable in our bubbles and we feel safe there. So it can be hard to sort of reach out. So I'm trying to with Whirl create just a very big bubble, very
Yes.
big
Yep.
wide bubble that can help bridge people together and have those conversations. And people have gotten jobs through Whirl. People have met their mentors through Whirl. I mean, just the messages that I get, they remind me of why I do this when I
Yep.
get messages like that, of people, jobs, mentors, even just a friend. I mean, sometimes I do think we're
Sure.
going through a loneliness epidemic. I think it does
Absolutely.
affect a lot of people. I mean, my first job right off into the workforce, I work from home. So I understand sometimes those
Oh,
feelings
yeah.
of when you get really deep into the grind and, your deadlines and all this, it can feel isolating. So it is nice
Yeah.
to just have that breath of fresh air and
Right.
just that person who asks how you're doing.
No, I love that. And if it's once or twice a year or different conferences to be able to see people in person. I went to a conference a month or so ago and I was so happy to see
Yeah,
people that I just
yeah,
haven't seen and be able
yeah.
to connect in person. That goes back to the loneliness thing. Having that real life connection and having those network events that are not intimidating is super smart. So I
Yeah.
love that. So do you have any like metrics that you guys are using from a number standpoint, or is this just kind of like the growth perspective? Like how are you going to measure success over the next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, we have our sponsors, so we run metrics in that number. We're always looking to strike up partnerships that way. We are starting, branded content studio. That's something that we have had within the larger company that we're going to do for World, which is exciting. Of course, we're looking at how many people come to the conference year over year.
Nice.
So just the technical aspect of that. But for me, again, it's just how do you measure an impact? I mean, it's from the stories I tell, it's from
Sure.
the messages I get, just seeing the amount of people every year grow at the event. When I stand up there on that stage and I see everybody, I'm like, this is amazing. So I just hope, me personally, just how can I reach out and touch more people's in their lives?
That's great. That's good. Well, and I said to you earlier, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because I talk about people who are actually taking action to make things happen. And now in the restaurant industry, everybody knows you. You are like celebrity at this point, which is so awesome. I love it so
So
much.
surreal.
Um,
Like, really?
but yeah,
Because
totally,
even I get
totally.
stuck in my own bubble.
Hey, you're top 30. You just won that award for top
Thank you
30
so
women
much.
in the industry, right? So another awesome kudos to you. But I think, as we look outside the restaurant industry, part of my reason for wanting to have you on was because, there's a lot of other industries where a world doesn't exist. So what's your advice to others in different industries who want to start something like this? Like, how do you get the momentum and I'm sure it's baby steps, but how do you just start to kind of get this in place that people in other industries can try to replicate this?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is act first, post later. So, a lot of the things that we do at Whirl behind the scenes, before we even make that social media post, the story's already out there, the workshop's already in motion. So, in that way, we're very genuine and authentic in the fact that we want to make the impact and then post about it later. It's not
Nice.
our first priority to have it on socials just to get clicks. So that's number one. But from a logistical standpoint, I would say any industry that you're in, unfortunately, if you're a woman, I'm sure a lot of the things are universal, like, for example, imposter syndrome. I think we've all felt that regardless of our industry. If you're looking to make a women's group, first you need to just tap into that emotion. What are people in the industry feeling? What do they need? For us, it was community. Again, I think that can go across industries.
Mhm.
And so we
Totally.
strategically found top voices. And I think with Danny and I being journalists, we had connections and a network already. So we kind of found, who are those top voices? Who knows the most people? Who can have the greatest impact, and are they willing to help? So we found those people, and that was our original advisory board. And they sort of just, the magic went from there. I mean, they went out, they kind of, I don't like to say recruited, but they just bring
Sure.
people into the fold, and month after month, and just all the way up until now, we're still bringing people in the fold. I mean, I have 2 calls later today from people who, they write to me and they say, Satine, I feel like a big fish in a little sea. Can you show me around? Absolutely.
Oh,
You just have to
that's
be willing
awesome.
to say yes,
Sure.
and make it known that you're willing to be that person that will be the connector. And it can be hard. I know time, everyone's busy nowadays, but just setting aside a few seconds to say, hi, how are you? And maybe this is the journalist in me, but asking people, where do you come? What's your story? And I guarantee you people will be willing to share.
I love that. And it's funny that you say that about asking questions because I have 2 teenage daughters and my 14-year-old sometimes is quiet in settings and not as, as active or as engaging. So I said to her, just start asking questions. Like when you don't know what to say, just start asking questions to people because it's just kind
Mhm.
of sometimes gets people to open up and like engage in the conversation from other places. But that's a great
Oh,
way just to start
yeah, I
talking to
mean, you
people.
just need people. I think at the end of the day, you just need a few people and then just let it grow organically from there. I mean, it really is about just creating a community. And to your point about the questions, my roommate is a therapist, so I'm sure you can
Oh
imagine
no.
we what our
Is that good or
conversations.
bad?
It's she's really good at asking questions. Sometimes she's too good at asking questions.
Right, right. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I want to do a quick rapid fire with you,
Let's do
right?
it.
So let's see how you do with this. What's louder, your leadership style or your playlist?
I would say my playlist. I definitely enjoy rock music, all different kinds. So I love a car concert. So my
Okay,
playlist.
are we going old school rock or like current rock?
Yes, old school rock,
I knew you
current
were going to say
rock.
that.
Yeah, yacht rock. Like it does not
Okay,
matter to me.
nice. All right, most overrated leadership buzzword.
I mean, I just keep coming back to circle back. I'll circle back around because I say it so much. I'm
It's
like, okay,
fair.
my friends always joke because they say I sound like a girl boss or I sound like I work in corporate America. And I'm like, guys, stop. They're like, who are
That's
you?
Yeah, that's true. Let's circle back. I say that sometimes too. I get it. One restaurant you'd never say no to.
Right now it's Wingstop.
Oh, okay. Good choice. Good choice. What's a hot take you have about women in leadership that might ruffle feathers?
Sometimes we are the only ones that get in our own way. And sometimes the people who can cut us down the most are, other women. So we just need to be cognizant of that and really just understand that success for one person, it's not a competition. Rising tides lift all ships, right? It sounds cliche, but I always come back to
So
it.
true.
You gaining success doesn't cheat someone else out of success. So just be
So
mindful.
true. We can all be successful for
Yes,
100%.
plenty of room.
What's the last thing that you did that scared you, but you did it anyway?
Mm, Probably speaking up for myself and setting a boundary. I am definitely a self-proclaimed people pleaser. I think in a lot of ways it makes me really good at my job because I love making people happy, but I have to remind myself I can't pour into people 24/7 without pouring into myself. So having the courage to step back a little bit.
Oh, that's good. That's good to even acknowledge. If Whirl had a mascot, what would it be?
I thought about this. I thought about it. I do think it would be a phoenix rising from the ashes because we do have
Oh,
yeah, I just think it's a powerful, image.
okay. Okay. I thought you were going to say like your horse, but okay. That's even.
You would love that.
That's awesome. Any parting words? Any other tips for success as you help others maybe create in other industries?
I would just say reach out and don't focus too much on how big that impact is as well. It can look as simple as connecting with 3 women in your local community and getting together over a glass of wine and asking, how are you doing? And how can I support you? Or it can be as massive as 500 people at a leadership conference. I mean, it can be a small drop or a large pond. Like it doesn't matter.
No, that's great. And keep working on circles. I talk
Yeah.
all the time about, making sure you have circles. And those circles are different. There'll be different groups. There might be 3 women in this circle that all know each other and 3 or 4 over here. But having those circles who can support you is a game changer for sure. So that ties into that, which I love. So that's great. If our listeners want to find you, LinkedIn, best place to look you up.
Yep, LinkedIn is the best place. Just look me up. It's Satyne, I'll spell it out, Satyne Donor. Just look me up on LinkedIn. Check out the Women in Restaurant Leadership page on LinkedIn as well. But you can also go on QSR and FSR magazine, their website. They've got great stuff. I'm a little biased if you're looking to
They
read.
do.
It's a good starting point.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Huge thanks, Satine, for bringing the fire, the focus, and the reminder that the next generation of women leaders isn't coming. They're already here. If you've been waiting for a sign to start that platform, raise your voice, or build something bold for women in your world, this is it. And if you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women who light your fire. The louder we get, the stronger we lift. Till next time, keep showing up, keep standing tall, and keep getting loud and lifted.